Patrick, I want to understand one thing because again, FOMO can be um, interpreted as something that makes you do something that you don't really want to do, or it can be perceived negative because you're missing out, right? But how do you then, based on now how you've seen FOMO being used for over a decade now, as a power that you've wielded, how do you use the power of FOMO to your advantage, where you take control of it instead of it you or instead of you just reacting to it? How do you reverse that power?
There are two ways to do that.
Okay.
The first is like the internal FOMO that you have. So FOMO to be an entrepreneur, FOMO to go to vacation in, I don't know, Vietnam. FOMO to, I mean, that's a nice place to go.
Yep.
FOMO to move to United States.
Okay.
FOMO to, all those things, right? FOMO to run a marathon, FOMO to start a podcast, FOMO to buy crypto, FOMO to, we can go on and on, but you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things. So if we think about the definition of FOMO, how do we define FOMO? FOMO is really two things.
Okay.
It's aspiration. It's the idea that there's something out there that's better than what you're doing right now. And oftentimes that is being fed by social media or media or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's an anxiety of us wanting more, bigger, better, faster. Mm-hmm. And it's really, that's why I call it aspirational FOMO, because it's about us wanting more. And it's, deeply embedded in our DNA. The earliest humans wanted more. They had to want more to survive. You can't just be like, oh, this shelter is fine, like this food is fine. No, to grow a race, or to grow a species, you need more and more and more. Mm-hmm. So that's element A. Element B is what I call herd FOMO. That's the idea that everybody's doing something. I don't want to be the only one. The herd is running over here. I don't want to be left out. Again, this goes back to the earliest humans. If they got separated from the tribe, they're in big trouble. And,
exactly.
There's huge cultural stuff like this, right? That fits us. And so, and you're like, I think, the Philippines in particular is a pretty collectivist culture, right? It's a place where people are close to their families. There's a lot of social ties. Like, people are extremely social. I know like Kumu, it's like, the app.
Yeah.
That's a very, everybody's like together on that. So there are cultural components to this as well. Like in some countries where people are a bunch of loners, then the herd thing isn't as strong, right? So you have to like understand it in your own sort of cultural context.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that when you have FOMO, you can then unpack that FOMO. So like, why is it that I want to be an entrepreneur? Is it because, have I really thought carefully about the aspirational? Like, is it as good as it looks? Like, yeah, there's all this entrepreneurship porn out there that makes entrepreneurship seem fun, exciting, and you're going to be rich. But like, Gary Vee style and all that. But like, is it real? Like, so you have to sort of unpack and dig into why you're feeling these things.
Right.
And so in doing that, you basically, FOMO goes from being this sort of like external thing to like being something where you can actually think, is this a great way to motivate myself? FOMO is a powerful motivator as long as you've done the work to make sure that you really know why you're doing it.
Right.
So that's the part A. So that's how you deal with FOMO in yourself. And I've done a bunch of work on this, but that's the short answer.
Got it.
In terms of other people, all marketing is FOMO.
Yes.
All marketing is, let's take a product and say how wonderful it is, and then convince you that everybody else is buying it, so you should too. Right? That's aspiration and herd. And so as a business owner or, anybody else who's trying to create a product, if you can figure out how to use FOMO in an ethical way to present your product to your consumer, that means don't lie, don't mislead people. But if you can use FOMO to highlight how great something is and why people should have it, then you can actually harness that power to build a business or to do other things, to convince somebody to marry you or whatever it is that you want to do.